Multiple attempts to retrieve Particle 010 have failed. We require an independent mind to organize its capture. Initiate Action 420. Determining proximity of nearest facility with the required technology. Located, Sector 303, Dominion Cloning Facility. Assimilate the facility and incorporate its technology into our own.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Star Trek Armada, and we are starting today with the Borg.
Activate all outposts.
Now, the Borg, despite the fact they've been getting their arse kicked pretty much for this entire game, they are pretty much without a doubt the most powerful race in terms of what their ships are capable of doing, and just how overwhelming they've become.
Initiating station construction.
The real downside to the Borg, and obviously in terms of balancing a game there's always got to be a downside, is that their mid-tier units aren't exactly brilliant, and they are a very expensive race in terms of both dilithium and crew, in this case drones. So they're really not an easy race to lean on. Once you get into the top tier of units, they become pretty much unstoppable. But it's finding a way to get there that's the problem. Obviously, when you're playing against the AI in campaign mode, then you're really not going to be under that much pressure for the majority of the time. But most of the time you're going to need a minimum of 3 Nexuses to get up to anywhere near the amount of crew that you need to get anything going forward, and you're going to need at least 2 dilithium moons, and to be honest probably 3 if you think you can expand that much safely. They really are a resource hungry race. Having said that though, because we are getting into the later part of the game now, we're probably round about 2/3 of the way through the game assumes that you have some level of competency, and it just allows you to get to the top tier of technology immediately, so we won't have to go around with in this mission with just mid-tier units. We will be allowed to get up to the top tier, but it's surviving that long that's going to be the problem. In this mission we are looking for the Omega particle. Well, we're not looking for it, we've realised that we failed to get it from the Romulans, so we're now exploring a different avenue. The Borg now want an individual mind to be able to control the collective. I don't understand why they'd come to that conclusion. I mean, the Borg Queen was pretty much a individual, wasn't she?
Vessel construction complete.
Although why they bought that line in, I suppose that was bought in because of the movie First Contact. I thought the Borg were a much more mysterious and savage and
station construction complete.
Basically a better race before they introduced the Queen, but who am I to argue? So they decided to resurrect an individual here. They are going to attack what's left of the Dominion in the Alpha Quadrant.
Vessel construction complete.
And that's going to make things a little bit difficult for us, because the Dominion are quite powerful in this game. We're going to come across the Jem'Hadar fighters that we did earlier in the game. We're also going to come across something else as well. Unfortunately, the Borg don't have the advantage of being able to cloak in this game like we did with the Romulans and Klingons, so our scouts are probably going to get shot down quite quickly. So I'm going to have to do sort of manual scouting in this rather than any other form. As you can see, the Jem'Hadar fighters are equipped with the Polaron torpedo, which makes them even more irritating to fight.
The collective must grow.
For those who don't remember, the Polaron torpedo just disables a random system on your ship. It looks like it nailed the weapons on the sphere. It's generally not a nice weapon to have to face. We started off this mission with 1 sphere and 3 assimilators.
Vessel construction complete.
The
We will adapt.
assimilator probably isn't as powerful as the sphere, but it does have a rather cool special weapon, the Assimilation Beam.
Confirmed.
What that does is it transports crew off the ship that it's targeted on. Theoretically they go onto the assimilator, but if the assimilator's already at full crew, they just appear to be beamed into nothingness. I'm expanding to the second area because I basically have to at this point. I can't run the Borg off one base if I hope to get up to high-tech levels. So again, taking a little bit of a risk, but the Jem'Hadar aren't that aggressive in this mission, and what I've got here can pretty easily hold off what they're going to send at me. There's a Jem'Hadar battleship. They are pretty powerful. Probably be the equivalent of a Natevar or a Warbird or something like that. Their special weapon, although you don't often see, I don't think you see it used in this mission. The special weapon of a Jem'Hadar battleship is to disable the shields of its target, so that's a really nasty special weapon. And we find the first Dominion outpost here.
Vessel designated for disassembly.
Okay, I've found enough now. I know kind of where the Jem'Hadar are, so I'm going to disassemble my detectors. Just get back the dilithium if I can. Unfortunately, it does look like I've triggered a bit of an attack on my base, but again, these Jem'Hadar fighters are really not a threat to my base. It's only if they start bringing battleships that there's a real problem.
Relocate to grid.
Got pulled out of position a bit there, but get them back in position now. Yeah, I'm kind of zipping about here because there's really not much I can do at the moment except wait for dilithium to rise, and this is what I mean about the Borg being a little bit vulnerable early. One of the things that the Borg can do, which is quite cool, the Interceptor, which is I suppose the equivalent of the Bird of Prey or the Defiant or something like that in this game. The special weapon on the Interceptor is a trans-warp drive, which means that it can warp to any area on the map, and that's always a good idea if you want to harass your opponent's dilithium refining operations. But that's not going to be the main point in certainly the single-player campaign, because when you're playing the single-player campaign, what you want is just to build up and throw mainly, because the enemy is already built up, so there's no point doing any harassment. But it's certainly something that comes into play in multiplayer, a little bit in multiplayer games.
Objective received.
As you can see, the modification center is very expensive. 1,300 dilithium, whereas on the Romulans it was barely over 1,000. So you're getting some kind of
station construction complete.
Some kind of idea of how expensive the Borg are.
Initiating additional technology.
I'm researching some of the more of some of the technology now, just so that my assimilators become a bit more worth it. Can use them to attack battleships, etc. But at the moment the Dominion are being fairly docile, so
Objective received.
I'm just going to go with the original plan and slam down a advanced assembly matrix.
Initiating station construction.
And the reason I'm doing that, I want to get their holding beam for the cube, because that's the way the Borg are going to win pretty much every single mission that they're involved in here.
Additional technology.
Regeneration's the Sphere special weapon. It's pretty good. It basically cranks up repair rate on the ship to a ridiculous level.
Initiating vessel construction.
And means that the Sphere can take an awful lot of damage before succumbing, which is helpful considering how expensive the Sphere is. I think it's like 500 dilithium, which is like 150 more than the equivalent from the other races, so you're beginning to once again see how expensive this gets. And the top tier ships, the races usually cost about 800 dilithium and 400 crew. A Borg cube costs 1200 dilithium and it costs 1000 crew. So as you can see, I'm now going to build a third Nexus, because there's just no way I can support production of cubes without having a third starbase. And we're just getting that ridiculous expense again for the Borg. But as I said, when you're in the single player scenario as the Borg, the computer really isn't that aggressive against you, so you can pretty easily hold off what the computer decides to do to you with a pretty small force.
Location invalid.
To be honest, it's very rare that the computer attacks you with a force large enough to take on a starbase until you get into like the last quarter of the game, at which point you do get into some pretty mucky situations.
Insufficient resources.
This is the holding beam technology. You will see this, you will definitely see this in use in this mission. It's the Borg's best weapon that they have at their disposal. And instead of doing the numbers thing, which is what I would do for Romulans, Klingons, Federation, and you've seen me do multiple times, the
station construction complete.
The Borg, you're obviously not able to do the same numbers game with, because it's just too expensive to do. However, 4 cubes I think here will probably be enough to wipe out the entire Dominion force on the map.
Vessel construction.
And, you will see how very shortly. Once again, I'm not too sure that I have to recrew my star bases like I do here, but I just decide to do so. And here's the first cube.
We serve the collective.
1000 crew, so much though. But there's a good reason they have 1000 crew, and it's that holding beam of theirs. Fortunately, with 2 moons being mined here, I do have sufficient dilithium to get 4 cubes out there, and then we'll just see what happens from there.
Initiating station construction.
This is something you won't have seen me done before. I'm building extra control nodes because for some reason in this mission you get a real shortage of them. So I can end up food capped here quite easily just through building
Vessel
cubes.
construction complete. Insufficient drones.
I've decided to build some spheres as well to just provide myself with a little bit more defense while I'm building up my cubes. Spheres are probably a little bit better than assimilators in that regard because they can just take that much more damage.
Proceed
Anyway,
to sector.
now got my 4 cubes,
We will adapt.
and now it's time for the true power of the Borg to be displayed. If you thought that I stole ships before, you wait to see what happens now.
We serve the collective.
Lucky with that Polaron torpedo, it only hit the sensors on the cube. I decided to wipe out the area around the first base first rather than go for a direct assault, because the last thing I really want is to end up with a Dominion attack force coming at me from the backside and missing. And this amused me. This Dominion battlecruiser has just sat in a yellow nebula until its crew have died.
By your command.
So I will just take that over, and you'll notice that whenever the Borg take over a ship, they get a really cool effect with the ship looking all assimilated, etc. Oh, the game's really struggling at the moment, but I think I will sort that out fairly shortly. You'll notice that the Dominion battleship has the shield disruptor weapon, which is really nasty.
We serve the collective.
Just instantly disables the shields of any ship that it's aimed at. But what we're going to go around doing is try and steal a load of Dominion battleships, because they're essentially amazing.
Vessel construction complete.
And we're just going to end up with our massive fleet load of... I mean, they're not quite as powerful as cubes. Cubes are the most powerful ships in the game, with or without their holding beam weapon, but they're certainly a very powerful ship.
Serve the collective.
I'd probably say they're equivalent to an 8-var or somewhere in that region. As you can see, I've got a nice little fleet built up here of smaller ships in case I get
by your command.
In case I get attacked while my cube wolf pack is going around.
Proceed to sector. Relocate to grid. We serve the collective.
Once you start getting a little more au fait with the Borg, you'll see how good they are.
Unassimilated species.
And here's the best special weapon in the game. Borg holding beam. 1 Jem'Hadar battlecruiser.
Activate all alcos.
What the holding beam essentially does is it immobilizes the ship so it can't run away, and it beams crew onto the ship at a massively accelerated rate as opposed to using transporters. So you just assimilate ships really quickly. Unfortunately, me assimilating this Jem'Hadar warship means that the little Jem'Hadar fighters decide to attack it. It's fine that it acted as a decoy, but it's a bit annoying that they didn't. It's a bit annoying that I didn't get to use it for my own purposes. As you can see, those Jem'Hadar fighters didn't last long, but it's really annoying that the Dominion is building them, and then they're firing their Polaron torpedo, which basically means that they get one of my systems. Made a mistake with the shipyard here. I assimilated it before destroying all the turrets, and the turrets are going to end up destroying the shipyard before I can get them, so that's a bit foolish. Bit foolish of me, but we're just getting rid of the Dominion bases round here, and then we'll assault the main area. Once again, a little swarm of Jem'Hadar fighters, but against 6 Borg cubes at this point, and against that many cubes, they're just not going to cause any damage. We used to think 1 Borg cube was scary. Try 6.
By your command. Relocate to grid.
Okay, so we're going to come up to this top right-hand base.
We serve the collective.
And this time I am going to assimilate the shipyard properly. First things first, destroy all the turrets.
Unassimilated species engaged. By your command.
As you can see, my dilithium's fairly high at this point, but my crew's still low. Again, the fighters I'm going to destroy, the battleship I'm going to try and assimilate.
Vessel construction complete.
Oh, potential mistake again. Although having said that though, 4 Borg cubes getting a holding beam on the battle cruiser means that it's assimilated pretty much instantaneously. And sadly the shipyard and the battle cruiser now have no crew on them, thanks to Polaron torpedoes and various other things. So,
species engaged.
again, I'm just going to destroy these Jem'Hadar warships before I do anything involving transporting, because it could just end up being a waste. And it would have ended up being a waste because once again I lost the warship.
By your command.
But what I have got is I have the shipyard now.
Insufficient grid resources.
So instead of building the hyper expensive cube, I can actually now build Jem'Hadar warships, which is pretty awesome.
Activate all alcos.
And by the way, I now have 8 cubes. I have a feeling this may work to my advantage.
We require regeneration.
I'm going to regenerate all my cubes because, as you can see, one's taking a hit to its life support systems, and they're going to be a little bit low on crew having done all that assimilating, so... just going to sit around for a bit, get my ships back up to full... my ship's back up to full snuff, and then we will assault the main Dominion base. More cubes, that's the way forward. Finding it very hard to click on my cube at this point. There we go. I don't really need a fleet of Jem'Hadar battle cruisers, but I'm going to build one up just for the sake of it. It's always nice to go for a bit of overkill. As you can see, some of my cubes are actually really low on crew. The assimilation plus the
Initiating vessel construction.
yeah, the assimilation plus the Polaron torpedoes really did a number on my crew. But as you can see, Jem'Hadar battleships only cost 800 dilithium as opposed to 1200 for cubes, and 400 crew as opposed to 1000. And they do bring a lot of firepower to the party. So let's have another one.
By your command.
This is so brutally overpowered.
Insufficient grid resources.
Yeah, at this point I've run out of dilithium at both of my dilithium moons, but we're about to finish the mission pretty much, so there's not really much point in re-expanding anywhere.
State objective.
I'm just going to disassemble all my dilithium places just to get a bit more... I mean, that's going to get me 2,000 dilithium doing that, so... not really much point re-expanding at this point. What I've got's more than enough. They always hit life support with that Polaron torpedo.
Unassimilated species engaged. We serve the collective.
Another Jem'Hadar battleship for the fleet.
Vessel construction complete.
And another one hits life support. Must be the most... it's always the most inconvenient one that Polaron torpedo manages to hit. And when you're the Borg, the most inconvenient one is your crew. Because the Borg use crew like nobody's business.
Commence attack.
But really the Jem'Hadar base is just... Jem'Hadar fighters, torpedo turrets, and that's about it for the most part.
Unassimilated species engaged.
And me being me, I'm going to assimilate as many shipyards as possible.
We serve the collective. The collective is under attack. We serve the collective.
Unfortunately, I am going to lose some of them, but it diverts the Jem'Hadar's attention away from me.
Vessel construction complete.
And that's the cloning facility. I'm going to need to assimilate
By
that.
your command.
So that's going to be the end of this mission, guys. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.
We serve the collective. The collective is under attack. Unassimilated vessels identified. Threat probability to action 420 exceeding acceptable limits. Eliminate all unassimilated vessels. Defend the facility until the process is complete. Unassimilated species engaged. Initiating process. Initiating vessel construction. Accessing Federation DNA archives. We will adapt. Downloading DNA sample. We serve the collective. Initiating cloning procedure. Activate all alcoves. Activate all alcoves. By your command. Unassimilated species engaged. Inserting nanoprobes. Establishing link to the collective. Process complete. Vessel construction complete. Your designation is Locutus of Borg. Your primary objective is to eliminate all unassimilated species in this sector.
I will comply.
We serve the collective. Transferred.
Primary objective complete.
New primary objective. Obtain particle 010.
I will comply.